What's going on, everyone? It's Archangel here with my review of For Honor.
Your enemies.
For Honor story mode is a mixed bag. It's super fun, but it's also pretty empty and dull. You get to play each faction, the Knights, the Vikings, and the Samurai, but instead of an actual story, it's basically a tutorial with cutscenes. Which kind of sucks when you think about it. My expectations was that there were going to be like a legit story campaign with this game, deep in lore, the factions. I thought, depending on which faction you selected, you play out a decent length story where the selected faction is victorious and you don't play as the other faction, you just play as that one faction. And you play like I said, you play a very long story with just one faction. You learn about that faction's history. You learn about the individual characters. You get to play as each individual character in that faction. You go to war with the other two factions, things like that. I thought it just could be, a good solid story mode circled around whichever faction you chose. But it's none of that. It's not deep, and in terms of length, each faction quest will take you about an hour and 20 minutes to do. So you'll complete the story mode in under 4 hours if you ignore, collectibles. And even if you do find all the collectibles, that's just a little over 4 hours of gameplay. Of course, it does depend on like if you're playing on normal, hard, realistic. Because obviously, if you're dying a lot, you're gonna have a longer time playing than someone who's not dying at all, who's gonna raise rate through the game. So what about the plot? There really isn't a plot to the story mode at all. Everything that happens in this game, the reason behind the faction war, the reason behind everyone going balls to the wall, murder, killing, all that shit is because one person wants it all to happen. One person wants there to be war. One person wants there to be chaos. That's the plot. That's the whole thing. It's weak. It's not really a real story when you just have where everyone's at war because one person wants it to happen. It's kind of like a very weak way to have a plot for a story. A weird thing is during the Knights and Vikings chapters, the samurai only speak Japanese in those chapters. There's even a moment where a Viking jokes about not knowing Japanese when she tries to interrogate a samurai. What's weird is that when you play as a samurai, they all speak English. There's no accents to them either. It's all perfect English with no accents. It's just really weird that they go from not knowing English at all to just magically having perfect English with no accents. It's really disappointing, in my opinion, for Ubisoft comes to that because you'll think it would make more sense for each of these factions to have their own language. Other people, oh, I don't want to read subtitles. But it's more realistic if the Japanese just speak Japanese. You just have English subtitles on the bottom of the screen, or Spanish if you're in a Spanish-speaking country, or German if you're in a German-speaking country, etc., etc. It makes more sense and it's more realistic if you did it that way and then just randomly have the samurai speak English. Really, I'm disappointed in Ubisoft for the story mode of this game, but with all that said, the fight scenes were great. There wasn't any engagements I didn't enjoy. I played through the story on hard, and in some fights it was too easy, but in others there were some challenges. So even though the story itself is weak, the fighting made up for the weak story that exists. The combat in this game is the strong point of For Honor. It's amazing and super satisfying. From the defense to the offense, it's flawless. The game has a very flawless combat system with a huge learning curve as well, making it an even better feeling when you do things well. When you're succeeding in counterattacking and you performing your defense, everything that you do because of that high learning curve, it feels good to successfully do things in this game. Now, when you hear about the controls of For Honor, it can be a little intimidating when people say they won't play the game because of the controls. So it might turn people off because we're saying how hard the controls are for the game. So people don't want to really get into it. But when you do learn the controls, it's very simple. It's very fluid. It's very flawless. I feel like the difficult controls add to the beauty of this game. Rolling out of attacks, parrying, blocking, light attacks, heavy attacks, guard breaking, throwing. All of that is beautiful and works flawlessly and is very, very fluid. Then there's the executions, which are gory beauties in themselves. I know it sounds pretty terrible to call gore beautiful, but the executions of this game are great. They're very entertaining and very fun to look at. The heart of the fun of this game is in its combat. It's what sells this game. It's what makes everything else in this game worth experiencing. Graphically, the game is astonishing, from the environment to the structures to the detailing in the armor of the heroes. Ubisoft outdid themselves with the visuals of this game. I know that's weird to say that Ubisoft did good graphically, considering the downgrade shit that goes on like the Division and Watch Dogs. But this game looks good, and if I did a comparison, it looks the same way now as it did when they first started showing off For Honor gameplay. And the graphics go beyond just the looks of the armor in the battlefield. You also did a good job at establishing the atmosphere of the game. It feels dark. It feels like war. The sparks flying off the swords when they clash. The screams of the minions. There's a lot that goes into this game when it comes to its visuals and its graphics. I will say a fail in the visual department is in the character design. All the characters use the swords, seat them in their hand. They don't seat them inside of like a belt or anything like that. They seat it as if they're going to put it inside like a holster or belt, but it's in their hand. They just run around carrying their sword in their hand. What's weird is that there's an animation as if, like I said before, as if they're going to put their sword inside of a belt or a scabbard or a holster. The animation is there that they're doing that, but they're not actually putting inside anything. They're just putting into their hand, just carrying around that way. You know, and it's just a weird thing to see. It looks like a design flaw, in my opinion. Samurai has some of the sharpest swords in history, but in this game, they're just running around with it in their hand as if it's just a little stick. The customization of For Honor is detailed but simple. You can customize everything about your weapon, from the blade to the guard to the handle. You can customize your arms, your helmet, your chest. There are numerous color variants, and the unlockable presets or elite skins are also very cool to look at and very neat. With that, there's also customizable perks or feats, as they're called in this game, that you can also change up, to better suit how you want to play the game. I think they did a good job of customization in this game. Of course, allowing us to customize from the ground up will be cool, but I think what they did here was fine enough, and it's very good to see, how Ubisoft is, evolving when it comes to customization. When it comes to, you compare their games, and Division is very bare when it comes to customization, and then this game has a lot of things to customize. Multiplayer is a mixed bag. I say that because the community is all over the place when it comes to talk about For Honor's multiplayer. You got people who just want to play the game, and people who create unwritten rules and want everybody to play based on those made up rules. I say the multiplayer is good. Its biggest issue is lack of dedicated servers and region lock, which is a similar issue in all Ubisoft games. I don't understand why they don't have dedicated servers. I don't understand why they don't have region lock. The game modes are great, the maps are fun, and the characters are balanced. Some folks might whine about this character or that character, but that's just people who really just aren't good at the game. Every class counters the other. Assassins are a hard time for warriors. Ranged heroes like the Nobushi are hard. Give assassins a hard time. Warriors like the Ward and Kensei, they shit on ranged heroes. Shield-based heroes shit on the warriors. So they all counter each other. But of course, everyone goes up. This characters are blah 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 blah. That's just people who are they're not good at the game. Get good, and then you realize that all these characters are actually balanced and feed off each other. This game has a steep learning curve, so you have to learn how to play each character to better understand like how each of them plays, their weaknesses, things like that. When you do all that, then you learn and realize how balanced the game is. I will say another thing that really isn't a flaw, but it's just weird, is that playing against bots is no different than playing against other players. As in, you still gain XP, unlocks, and your KD and all that stuff still counts to your actual stats as if you're playing against real players. However, custom games don't count towards your stats, nor do you gain XP from them. So it's kind of weird that playing against bots will get you XP and unlocks, but playing against friends and custom games don't. Oh, you can be boosting. Well, it's the kind of same thing you're playing against bots. Because if you're playing against bots, even though the bots in this game are really good, you're still going to freaking squash them more times than not. So you're inflating your stats then more so than you would if you're playing against actual players. So still the same thing as just going to custom games and just killing your friend over and over again. Overall, I think this is a great game, a very competitive game. If I was to give it a score, I give it an 8 out of 10. The previous flaws I mentioned do hold it back from being higher, and that's in the grading. As well, there isn't really much content. A few modes and maps, a 3-hour story. The game is going to need DLC in a couple months, not several months. There is a lack of content, which is a usual flaw when it comes to Ubisoft games. They launch, and then once you beat them, there's nothing really else to do after that the things that are already in the game. Anyways, that's it for this review. Leave any thoughts you have in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. I do hope you all enjoyed this video. Go ahead and do all that good stuff that helps the channel grow. Subscribe, like the video, share it, all that stuff. Enjoy your day, guys. Peace out.